This is Jacob,
And this is Ted.
and this is
Six pack deep. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
And today we're actually doing something a bit different. This is an election special. We've got an election coming up on the 21st of May. So it's currently the 6th of May, so just over 2 weeks away. And look, I'm someone that has voted for both sides. I've voted both Labor and Liberal in the past. A couple of months out, if you ask me who I was going to vote for. Exactly. A couple of months out, if you asked me who I was going to vote for, I would have said Liberals. I am now unsure who I'm going to vote for. The waters have been muddied, which we'll get into shortly. But quickly, Jacob, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown, I guess, as to who you tend to vote for? I know I've got a quote unquote bit of a loyalist, but yeah, just a bit of a rundown on yourself.
I mean, I am the stereotypical rundown person, so I appreciate you coming to me for some rundown perspective. I have recently been considering where I stand with things, and I have traditionally voted Labor any election. I mean, I'm 33 years old on Monday, so I've been through a few elections so far, and I've always voted Labor. That is mainly because my grandfather and my mother voted Labor. That's kind of the line I've gone down. It's not a family tradition, but it's been like a general kind of a quote unquote moral standard, I suppose, because it comes from the old, I suppose, back the roots of a party where Liberal was basically geared towards supporting businesses, larger businesses, helping them grow, where Labor was more built around helping the working class, unionizing, etc., etc. And it's a demographic that I grew up in and have spent most of my life in. So generally, that's how I vote, and I'm not seeing it changing this election, but I am still open.
Perfect. So just before we get into it, just to be clear, I'm not here to try and convince Jacob to vote one way. He's not here to try and convince me to vote one way. What we're going to do is we're just going to go through a couple of, I guess, not necessarily key ideas that are important to us. So we're going to break it down.
It's an exchange.
We're going to break down into four different, So we're going to break down into 4 different tiers, going from most important to least important. I imagine we're probably going to have very similar sort of views because we are quite similar. There are a couple of different things where we do differ, but it's more kind of the finer details where I think we get unstuck in terms of he's Labor, I flip-flop. So we'll get into it, and I'm going to hand it over to Jacob. But just before I do, just so you are aware, we do use Zoom to record. Zoom is shit. It's now imposed a 40-minute limit, and obviously it takes a couple of minutes to get this set up. So we're actually going to do this in probably a 2-part video. So please, if you do like it, stick it out and then watch the next one. But yeah, Jacob, take us away. What's the top tier issue for you this election?
Same as it has been like for any election I've voted in, but more so now, is looking after the working class. We both live in Victoria. We know what's happened to the working class, for small business owners, their employees, whether they be part-time, casual, what have you. COVID lockdowns, they've been absolutely destructive to the fabric of life in Victoria. I mean, most of my experience is in Melbourne, of course, because that's where I'm living. But people.
And this view's from your penthouse, yeah?
Hey,
Just you, like your background, yeah.
There you go. Yeah, no. This is absolutely it. No, that's actually a Hobart background, which is my homeland of Tasmania. But yeah, man. everything that has happened to the working class, the amount of people that have been laid off, the amount of family businesses that have closed, that have been around for like 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I would really like to see some kind of government initiative to actually have a bit more of support towards towards the normal people, towards the people that are supporting the normal people, like smaller businesses, medium businesses, big businesses to an extent, but not so much. And I know it is largely a state issue, but I understand that
there are
current
things
Prime Minister
federal government can put in place.
Yeah, ScoMo was like putting forward some kinds of initiatives, some kinds of support for COVID suffering states for a while, and then it was just like more or less too hard basket, in my opinion. I don't think that's good enough. So I would really like to see more support for just your average fucking Joe, because that's what we all pretty much are, or most of us are.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow that with a question. So that's what you're looking for. Is there a certain proposal or something that you have in mind that you'd like to see Labor or Liberals? I'm not going to count the Greens because neither of us are going to vote for them. But is there something that you'd like to see them put forward that would help sway you towards voting for them in regards to that?
Nothing that I'd thought of specifically, but since you posed a question, I would like to see a wage subsidy, maybe for younger people, possibly for older people as well. And by that, I mean like a subsidy towards an employer, like an incentive for them to actually hire more staff when maybe they are second guessing everything. Maybe they don't feel like they're in a position to hire people. Maybe they feel like if it's a mum and pop place, they have to work it because of the owners.
So like lower taxes for like small businesses, for instance.
No, not
like payroll taxes, because I know they were doing that during COVID times where they were getting rid of like the payroll taxes and stuff like that, something like that. Or
potentially there was an incentive. I can't remember which government. It might have even been under Howard, to be honest. It's been a while ago, but there was an incentive for employers to hire people, and the federal government would actually step in and pay a certain amount of the wages for the worker. And I think at the moment, definitely not like long term, but maybe for a year or two, something like that would be fucking awesome. And I'm not an economist. I don't know how practical it is, but just for me, I think that's what I would love to see.
I'm with you. I'd not even thought of that, but there don't need to be some sort of restrictions. I'd say I'd be for like a business that employs, say, less than 50 people.
Yeah, I don't know the exact parameter, but just like something and
like that to help promote small businesses. I don't think like Coles, Woolies, Bunnings really need much more help.
They're going to be fucking fine. But can you like just think how many fucking coffee shops in Melbourne have gone bust because no one's been in the city for 2 years?
Yeah.
How many lives have actually been completely destroyed or ended? How many people have opted out and just so
I'm with you there.
It's still a desperate situation, I think.
I'm very similar. So a strong economy is really important to me. That's kind of top of my list. So yeah, with the RBA just recently increasing the interest rates by 0.25%, which is quite a big increase considering we haven't really had an increase, I want to say, for like 10 years or 11 years. So to have it jump is definitely signaling that our economy is not very strong, and that's something that we're seeing all across the world. So it's not unique to Australians, but
everything's kind of been more or less frozen for a couple of years. Like no one's really wanted to change too much.
So I'd like to see certain things brought in to help promote the economy, and a lot of it's going to be done at a state level. For me, though, I would like to see the tax thresholds increased. Give more money.
Okay.
Give more money back to the working class. That's going to go into that's going to go back into business. Will then flow into the economy, but you're flowing into the economy in a way where the average Joe isn't as hard done by. If they can get an extra $100 in their pay, even, that's going to go a massive way for a lot of people.
Jesus Christ, yeah, 100%.
So that's what I'd really like to see one of them talk about. It's something that sort of the current incumbent government has done for the past 2 or 3, I want to say 2 years, maybe 3 years, where they've been like, if you're earning under X amount, you get a bit more of a buffer, but that's always been a year by year basis, and it's like, yeah, we're scrapping that. I'd just like to see rather than saying we're going to give you like this tax-free like, I can't figure out the exact word, but it can depend on how much you earn, and then all your deductibles or whatnot, you can get up to an extra 1,200 or whatever. I'd like to see that
scrapped. Like a tax break kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd like to see that scrapped. So let's say for the first bracket, instead of paying, what is it like? Let's just say 18% at say 35 grand. I'm just spitballing numbers here. They're not.
Yeah, I've got no idea.
But let's say instead of 3,500, we increase it to, instead of 35 grand for your annual income, they increase it to 45 grand, and then the next one just increase it by say 10 grand. So it's not a massive difference, because most of your money, you're still going to be getting money, but you're going to be getting it in another way where it's supporting more people. So that's something that I would really like to see. So we're very similar. I think we just have slightly different ideas of how we think it could be achieved.
And that's exactly it. It's about exchanging ideas, and obviously we're just two drunkards shit talking on the internet. But like, there are people that are professional economists, and like, if they've got ideas, they can flesh them out and they can work out what's going to be effective, I assume. I think talking about quickly, a lot of,
on the very, very off chance that anyone watching this, well, not off chance that anyone does watch this, let alone if anyone watching this is like an economist or has any sort of degree in that sort of background, and you'd be interested in kind of talking a bit more about it and explain why our ideas could work or wouldn't work, reach out. If you just want to message us and let us know that they're shit or it would work, that's fine. You'd be interested in jumping on and actually having a discussion and spitballing ideas. Perfect. Cool. But
100%. It's just a chat. So that'd be great.
But that's tier 1. What's tier 2 for you?
Tier 2 would probably be oral, and there goes our credibility. No, tier 2 for me is a little bit broader, more international concern regarding what's happening in the world now. A lot of instability with obviously Ukraine v Russia, but my greater concern would be China, the sleeping Solomon dragon, Islands, as it were. Solomon Islands, we are not going to create a base, but hey.
Yeah, let's just quickly provide some context in case people watching this don't understand. So China has this program, I believe it's called the Road and Belts program or something similar to that. Something like that. Where essentially they'll go to smaller nations, give them a fuck ton of cash, but then perhaps try and say, all right, we get to put in certain infrastructure, which a lot of time includes military bases.
Yeah, you owe us a favor, basically.
Pretty much. What was it as they said Trump called it? Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
But yeah, so they've done that with Solomon Islands, which is a country not too far from Australia. where they're now looking at setting up a military base, and it's not one that would be used for defensive purposes.
They have denied it, but it's a very big point of contention because I don't know if we're strictly allies with the Solomon Islands, but we had a very good relationship with them.
I think the relationship has soured in the past couple of years, thanks to the Liberals. It's one of the things that I'll straight up say the Liberals fucked up. But yeah, so this is not a location that they would want a military base there for defensive purposes. It would be an offensive base that would allow them to launch attacks against nearby countries, primarily Australia. We would kind of be the biggest target within that region. And that's not talking us up. I know we're not the biggest country. Well, we are actually the biggest country in terms of land mass. But we're not the most important country. But within that region, we probably hold the most power politically and economically.
Well, the thing is, China does not require defensive bases. They don't have anyone on planet Earth that's interested in attacking them. The only point of contention really on the global stage is Taiwan, and that's only if they act upon Taiwan. There's no threat of Japan or Indonesia or Australia or Malaysia or anywhere attacking China. All of these bases are potential outposts to launch offense from. There's nothing defensive about it.
Exactly. So that's why it's contentious. And sorry to cut you off there, but keep going. So international security, is that kind of what you're getting at?
International security, it's not in the sense that let's funnel billions of dollars into defense, not saying we should do that, but how to navigate where we are right now, because we were in a good position with China. It's kind of soured a little bit, obviously, after
a lot of it.
Office. That was that was a high point, but it was very big tourism, very big student population from China in Australia. We did have a good relationship, and it was all about juggling the relationship with China and juggling the relationship with America. And now I don't think that we have any options for federal parliament that are actually good at doing those things.
So
I would love to see somebody that was actually very, very diplomatically talented. I don't think there's any pawn on the board or any figure on the board for that.
Yeah, and just to provide some context, I guess we've got anyone watching, most likely not in Australia, but potentially even someone in Australia that doesn't follow politics whatsoever. We've got two major parties. We've got the Liberals, who are currently led by Scott Morrison, otherwise known as Momo. And we've also got Labor, which is led by Anthony Albanese.
Can you just offer a little bit of clarity on what liberal means in Australia, please?
Yes. So you know what a liberal is in America? Reverse it.
Yeah.
So a liberal. So the Liberal Party in Australia is the Republicans in America, or the Tories over in the UK. And Labor is the Democrats, or Labor in the UK.
Yeah. Fucking color me whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I think I'm on a very similar page to you. International security and a stronger international presence is important to me. That's probably tier 2 for me as well. However, when I say international security and international, what was the second part? Sorry, guys, I'm already well more than a 6-pack deep.
Likewise, international security and just how we fucking manage.
I know what I was going to get at.
The whole thing.
So, whilst I want us to take a stronger position internationally and see us restore, our partnerships with countries, especially within the Australasian region, I don't want us doing that through the UN. I think the UN is a corrupt mess, and I cannot support that in good faith. When it was originally set up, great. It was set with good intentions. Now it's just a pit where you just chuck money in and nothing happens.
I mean, you've got your Human Rights Council and you've got fucking Saudi Arabia on it.
Yeah. That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, sorry guys.
What was it when Russia was invading Ukraine, and they're like, and Ukraine's like, we're going to go to the Security Council. We need a unanimous vote to do anything. Oh, what's this? Russia's on the Security Council. Like, it's all posturing and it's bullshit. I've got no time for that, but what I do have time.
Yeah, and like I know it's getting a little bit off track, but this is just like, it's never really properly been tested. It's never come to proper loggerheads until now. And now it's just like, oh, turns out nothing meant anything at all. Because now the big boys are playing and they will take their toys, they'll go home, or they'll break your toys. And that's all it fucking is.
What we're probably going to do, we're probably going to touch on this in a separate video when we're a lot drunker. So stay tuned.
Sweet.
But what I would like to see is Australia, and this is meant to be like in an aggressive manner, but asserting its dominance in that within the region, because we are the major power within our region. We can go to these countries and we can invest directly into the countries themselves rather than going through the UN. We can go there, try help give them money in terms of tourism. We can also do that in terms of things such as energy. So over there are a lot of opportunities for things such as gas and gas and coal, fossil fuels. There are opportunities there which would really help the economy. Obviously, there are certain drawbacks from the environment, and I'm just going to quickly preface this. Something that Jacob will also have to do, so I'm going to do it for both of us. We are employed by different companies, but companies within the energy sector within Australia. Any views that we talk about in regards to like gas and electricity and that sort of stuff, they're purely our own. They don't represent the views of the companies that we work for. Just want to get that out there because I guess we have to. But
I appreciate what you're saying, and I think it's a really good idea. But
we've lost you there, mate.
Hey,
you're back now. Lost you for a second.
Yep. Yeah, basically what I was saying was, I think what you're talking about with providing energy to other,
not providing energy.
Southeast Asian,
I'm talking about
gas, electricity, or
no, I'm talking about like things such as mines, oil, like drill stations, things like that, where the locals can get employment.
Yeah. No, it's and same principle. That kind of thing, I think, would have been a really good idea 5 to 10 years ago. But I think things have gone so far now. Anything that we could possibly offer could be just fucking blown out of the water by whatever China wanted to offer. If we go and love with them, not going to happen.
So I'm not talking about Solomon Islands. That's a lost cause with the amount of money, but there are a lot of other
anywhere in Asia, man. No. Anywhere in Asia.
So we'll cut this off here because I don't want to get into an argument about this and derail the whole thing because we are on limited time. But what I'm saying is, and it's not just necessarily that one industry. That was just an example.
Yeah.
But we can go in there and help provide jobs and economic growth within those regions, which would also help us. Not only would it give us more like security in terms of defense and international partnerships, but it would also funnel money back into Australia as well, which goes back to what was important to both of us. Obviously, it's not directly what we both wanted, but it would help funnel more money into Australia as well.
That supports everything I've wanted so far. So I can definitely get on board.
We'll move on to tier 3, and I'm going to take this one.
Go for it.
Taking the first 2.
Greedy fucker, aren't I?
You are a greedy fucker, and it kind of shows around the waist. No, media. So media and the role that media plays in society, obviously it's taken on a much more important role. But at the same time, it's taken on a much less, I want to say factual role, but that's probably not the most accurate way to phrase it. We've all heard the phrase fake news. And I think we can all agree that media especially in Australia, is very biased. It's very politicized. I would like to see that in some way being punished. I'm not sure exactly how it would be determined, like regulated and whatnot. But if you've got media outlets that are, I don't want to say misinformation. I'm not going to say that.
That's too much.
Yeah. But if you've got media outlets out there that are, let's say, I'm not going to say misinformation, disinformation, I think is more accurate for what we're seeing in Australia. I would like to see them penalised. At the same time, I would also like to see a stronger clampdown on restrictions on media in terms of access. What we are seeing at the moment is we've got the big media organizations. You've got the Murdoch Press, you've got Fairfax 9, which now I think falls under Murdoch Media. You've got a few others, but they've all kind of brought all these small networks, local newspapers and whatnot.
Yeah, 100%. My tiny town I came from, less than 15,000 people, local newspaper owned by Murdoch Press.
Yeah,
so it's crazy, man.
One, I'd like to see that getting split up, but that's not going to happen. What I would like to see is independent media actually getting a fair shot. What we've seen, especially during COVID times, is we've seen independent media being barred from press conferences, despite the fact that they have media passes. They've been approved to go to these press conferences for, an example, in in Victoria. Our Premier is Daniel Andrews. There's an independent reporter, Avi Yemini. He had a media pass. He'd been approved to go to the press conference. Daniel Andrews and his staffers did not like Avi Yemini because he was not, kind to Daniel Andrews in his reporting. They had I don't know if it was the federal police or just Victorian police, but they had the police, some form of police, barring him from going to the press conferences. We've also seen members of independent media being arrested at protests and rallies that have taken place, and a lot of time there's been a lot more force than would really be justified, especially against a member of the media. It's not like these were people there that were wearing face masks and trying to assault people or do anything like that where you could possibly justify, all right, we need to take a bit of a harder stance because they're in danger. These are people trying to report.
You look at it like back in, for example, like the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. It was like a cardinal sin to shoot at journalists. Journalists were like the protected people, non-combatants. And now it's just like, it's like a clown world.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this, it does feel like it is all flying to one side, but in Australia, we do have a lot of media that they're on the right, but it's the wealthy right. It's the old money right, rather than just people that have conservative values, but they're not coming from money. They're not talking from a money standpoint where I want to try and keep my wealth. It's coming from a moral standpoint, which I think is the difference when it comes to the media in Australia. The right, conservative media, it's all about you're looking at that from a place of wealth, and they're wanting to retain the wealth rather than they're wanting to retain the values and morals that Australia was originally built on. So I'd like to see that being more protections put in place for independent media and more access given to independent media. Now, I am just going to give us a heads up. We've got 9 minutes left before Zoom cuts this one off because they're fucking shit. But Jacob,
thanks,
what's tier 3 for you?
Rather than get into that, with the time I've got, I just wanted to ask. So you mentioned with the mainstream media at the moment, you'd want some kind of restriction or punishment system, but not sure what it would be.
I'd like to see it getting split up. I feel like there's a monopoly at the moment.
Yeah, no, there is. I suppose what I would ask is, rather than like go down the rabbit hole of trying to find like how to make that part of it better, do you think if there were just a lot more government incentives and like support towards independent media, do you think that would actually be a remedy for it? Or would you still need to do something restrictive?
You need to do something restrictive. Like, and this isn't going to be a perfect fit, but let's say you own, let's say 9 News. If you own 9 News, which is a national like media outlet, it's not cable, but let's say it's like CNN or Fox. It's that kind of, everyone in Australia can view it. If you own that, you probably shouldn't also be allowed to own local newspapers.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'd like to see a separation between that, because otherwise you're getting the same message pushed out both on TV and in print, and it's not necessarily a factual message that's being printed out. That goes to both the right and the left. So I mean, you've got Sky News, which I think is owned by the same people that own the Australian. So they're both conservative media outlets. I'd like to see them being owned by completely separate entities. Not this is owned by this company, this is owned by this company, and they're both owned by ex-parent company. I'd like to see.
Oh, okay. So like, if all of these media entities, if there are no proven financial ties between them, do you think that would be something that would be beneficial?
I do.
Yeah,
I agree.
I
think we would see a lot more accurate reporting being coming out. I think we'd be seeing less biases. Well, you're always going to see biases, but I just think it's so much more pronounced because no matter where you look, because everyone operates within, well, not everyone, but most people operate within some sort of echo chamber.
100%.
If you're looking at what's on TV and then what's in the newspaper I read, what's on XYZ, and it's all the same message, you're going to go, well, this is what everyone thinks. And a lot of people aren't thinking, well, this is all the same. This is the same people telling me the same thing, just on different forms of media. So yeah, I would like to see that being completely separated. I think that would go a long way towards restoring trust in the media and probably a lot more trust amongst the community. I think we might actually leave it there. We're going to follow up. We're going to have a second video because I think we're probably going to end up talking about this for a bit.
I think we've hit on an important topic. Yeah, I think this is a good place to leave it.
Yeah, but anyone that has watched, before we do end this, I just wanted to remind you, there is a red button down below, similar to this, but it says subscribe. I want you to hit that. There's a like and dislike button. Hit either one. Hit the one you feel is best. Leave a comment. If we've discussed something and you'd actually like to argue your point, leave a comment. We're more than happy to get someone in to actually discuss it and argue their point. In the words of Stephen Crowder, change my mind. As long as you're willing to have a couple of beers. That's
change my mind. Not through brain surgery, just through words.
But with that, guys, thank you for watching, and there'll be another video uploaded pretty much straight after this one. We're just going to continue it on. I just don't have the time to put it all into one video. Cheers.
Cheers.